You're a radical. Oh, nothing to see. Scientists, of course, they're mystified, they're baffled, they're stumped, they're perplexed, they're bewildered. Of course they are. They always are. How is this possible? So they're being reported this acute radical bird die-off going in Illinois, Ohio, West Virginia, Kentucky. Many states, all local news stations. They're reporting these birds are sick. I mean, they're dying. They're reporting whatever they have is making them blind. They just kind of sit there and slowly die. And of course, all scientists, across the board, we've seen this since 2011. Why? Because what is a scientist now is not a scientist. They took the whole academia. Fukushima has proved what a fraud academia is. Because this has been 20, 30 years in the making to ignore anything environmental. These PhDs propped up, pushed up through academia, they're not PhDs. And that's who they run to. You work for these agencies, you work for the academia complex. They're taught to ignore the destruction of the environment. If it's anything environmental, just ignore it, chalk it up to whatever. Mystified, baffled, puzzled, stumped, perplexed. We've heard this thousands of fucking times. My tide pool work is empirical evidence. Now, I'll be there the next couple days. We're going to get the last low tide, the super moon of the year. I'll be in Monterey working those tide pools. And so, thank you everybody who supported the historic work. I need to raise about another $400 or $500. And so, anyway, this is sad as fuck. This is the greatest acute catastrophe collapse over 10 years in the history of mankind. And people just ignore it. They don't give a fuck. These consumption junkie freaks are all in. They don't care about the ecology. They don't care. They don't care if every single fucking wild animal is dead on Earth. That's where we're at in this country. Who would believe they can pull these social engineer freak show? You can blame the scientists. The academia professor, every one of them should be rounded up and hung. Fucking anybody who's so-called calls themselves a fucking biologist, any kind of scientist, at an academia, fucking media people that have covered this up. NOAA, the EPA, politicians, they all should be hung. Fucking hung. These are the greatest fucking ecocide in human history. Great Salt Lake's gone fucking dry here in Utah. They don't care. Fucking, what do they need water for? What do they need birds for? Fuck, there aren't any birds. Remember in 2014, 15, I reported when all the eagles fucking dropped dead? So I was talking to my daughter yesterday. She says she was out on Antelope Island the other day. And she says there's just birds all washed up dead on the beach right up there at Antelope. I said, you didn't get no video of it? No. Unbelievable what's going on. Well, let's see. We have a fission nuclear meltdown going on in China. Jet stream moves left or right. Oh, that couldn't be it. No, fuck. Anything environmental. Oh, no. It couldn't be anything environmental when we know factually it's something environmental by nature. So the empirical, what I've done is fucking real PhD. The greatest PhD in human history. Fukushima, the tide pools. So you can chalk it up to coincidence. Go ahead. You can say you're baffled, you're perplexed, you're bewildered, you're stumped, you're befuddled. You should see all these hyperbole in fucking every one of these. And these are all independent, mutually exclusive news reports. That's where you get the first stuff right as it breaks is on local news because they're competing. Illinois, West Virginia, Kentucky, Ohio, all reporting this. And they're all reporting it's a broad spectrum of birds. They're sick, they're lethargic, they're blind, and then they just drop. Fuck it. It's beyond sad. It's disturbing. Here, all we replace the birds here is with F-35s. Fucking. What I've done is real science. Coincidence does not get it in science. And then you're just going to, like I said, every single academia, scientist, professor who's fucking ever made a statement on the tide pools, fucking they should be hung. They should be hung. We should have a tribunal. This is the greatest cover-up in human history. Fucking anything environmental. Not only we don't protect the environment anymore, fucking here in Utah, fucking across there, we are taught to physically attack Mother Earth. It is contemporized here. Sick. It's fucking sick. It's beyond heartbreaking. So I'll do more on this. All hands on deck. All hands on deck. I'll be in Monterey the next few days. I got to raise a few more hundred. They've jacked up fucking plane flights on us. I'm taking the 2 apprentices with me. So, thank you everybody who supported this historic, the greatest PhD in human history. You don't care? I care. I fucking care. I care. Just remember this, you fucking pieces of shit loser. 2 of the scientists, well, 2. There's dozens of the scientists that I've argued and fought with. They've fucking dropped dead, including a couple of at Weber State. I mean, the head of the Marine Biology Department at fucking UC Davis on the Bay got sadly killed in an automobile accident. What karma you pieces of shit are fucking putting on yourself? What karma you pieces of shit are putting on yourself? Just remember this. I was given 2 months to live almost 10 years ago. It's been an ugly, hardcore fucking journey, but I'm alive. I fight for her, the environment, the economy. Fuck the birds. You don't give a fuck about the birds? They were singing so happily, so playfully, so joyfully. Sent me away, taught me how to be sensible, logical, practical. Fuck. Oh boy, you pieces of shit should be hung, every fucking one of you. Kevin Blanch, the greatest PhD in human history. You don't give a fuck. Our small army. Go ahead. At least I did this work. It's in the library for prosperity. This is the greatest acute catastrophe to fucking wildlife in North America and anywhere on Earth in the history of the world by thousands and thousands of times. The greatest ecocide collapse of fucking life, wildlife, in 10 years is equivalent to the collapse of all species wildlife for the previous 2 million years combined. Tadpoles are down 99%. Salmon are down 98%. Anchovies are down 98%. Birds are down well over 90%. Insects down, or butterflies down over 90%. The greatest ecocide, and not to mention the heat bubble over the western United States. Oh, it's just a coincidence, Fukushima. No, it's not. Fucking full blown out fucking meltdowns. Fucking released a fucking energy into this biosphere. You don't even know what the fuck it is. Which I named Fuktonium. Fucking the mother of all elements. Fucking me oh my, I mean sad, and I live in abject poverty. Thank you everybody who supported this historic work. We keep fighting, one day at a time. What else do we do? Fucking so heartbreaking. Stay tuned.